Amen, Philadelphia. It's been a minute, huh? I haven't been up here in a while to tell y'all what thus said the Lord. Daddy said he tired. He retired. I did miss y'all. And y'all know I love y'all. Ain't it a blessing to be in the house of the Lord today? And a blessing to be in the fellowship of believers today. Yes. And a blessing to be today. Yes. Grace and mercy have prevailed once again for at least one more day. God has allowed us to be on this side of heaven for at least one more day. God has allowed us to look down at the grass instead of up at the grass for at least one more day. Thank you. God has allowed us, Joyce, I like to say this one. God has allowed us to be seen instead of viewed for at least one more day. That's right. Is that something we should be praising Him for?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We should also be praising Him for what He has done, is doing, and will do for us in our lives. Individually and collectively. And as a family. We should praise Him for that. We should praise Him through all that we've been through. Because through all that we've been through, God has been there. Through our problems and our pains, God has been there. Through our circumstances and our situations, God has been there. Through our trials and our tests, God has been there. Regardless of what we've gone through in the past days, in the past weeks, even in the past months and years, God has been there. Amen?
Amen.
So it's important that we acknowledge the presence of God in our lives. Because had it not been for God, we wouldn't have these lives to speak of. Am I right?
Yes.
I know I'm right. Today is pre-Labor Day. Tomorrow is Labor Day. So this is a pre-Labor Day sermon. Amen. And I want to talk to y'all about work or labor in a sense. Since Labor Day is a holiday for laborers, for workers, we're honoring the laborers and the workers. I want to talk to y'all about a key part of labor, a key part of work, and that's decision making. Because before any major undertaking, you got to make a decision. Before any work is even started, you got to make some decisions. Before any job begins, a decision has to be made as to what needs to be done, what will be done, and how to go about getting it done. So, decisions have to be made. But the thing is, you can't come by this decision hastily. You can't be in a rush to make the decision. Amen. But you can't be lackadaisical with it either. Amen. So you can't just be like, oh, well, I guess I'll do this, or I guess I'll do that. You know, one thing is sure. You have to make decisions. Yes. You can't wait. You can't put them off. You can't just let things work out for themselves. If you do, there's dire consequences. So take this for instance. I'll let you know. I'll put it all together for you. Put a frog in a vessel and fill with water, and then start heating the water. Now, as the temperature of the water begins to rise, the frog adjusts his body temperature to match the temperature of the water. The frog keeps adjusting his body temperature with the increasing temperature of the water. But just when the water is about to reach the boiling point and the frog can't adjust anymore, the frog wants to jump out. But the thing is, he can't. At the point that the frog decides to jump out, the frog, he's unable to, because he lost all his strength when he was adjusting his body temperature. So what happens? The frog dies. Somebody getting some frog legs. So what killed the frog? The boiling water?
No. The fact that he didn't jump sooner.
The frog died because of his own inability to decide when to jump out of the water. The frog waited till his situation got too hot. He waited until the situation was unbearable. He waited until the situation was no longer in his control, but at the time that it was no longer in his control, then he had no control.
Yeah.
So he didn't have control over himself, so he couldn't get out of that situation that he was in.
Talk about it.
That's good.
We'll all be presented with situations when we need to adjust.
Right.
But we need to know what time it is. We need to know if it's time to adjust or is it time to get out that hot pot. I get them later. There are times when we need to face whatever situation we're in, and we have to take appropriate actions. If we allow people to exploit us physically, emotionally, financially, mentally, spiritually, you know what's going to happen? They're going to continue to do it. It's up to us when to decide to get out of that hot pot. My sermon subject today is simply Jonah. In the first chapter of Jonah, we find that a decision has to be made. And Jonah, well, he made a decision, but it wasn't the right one. God had directed him to go to Nineveh. But Jonah had his own plan. So instead of going where God told him to go, he went in a totally different direction. Now, how did that work out for him?
Not good.
Well, in the 4th and 5th verses of Jonah chapter 1, it says, "But the Lord sent out a great wind on the sea, And there was a mighty tempest on the sea, so that the ship was about to be broken up. Then the mariners were afraid, and every man cried out to his God, and threw the cargo that was in the ship into the sea, to lighten the load. But Jonah had gone down into the lowest parts of the ship, had lain down, and was fast asleep. Now, why didn't this storm get Jonah's attention? It should have, but it didn't. Are there times, or have there been times, when you just went your own way?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
Just ignored God's direction?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I probably shouldn't have asked that, because I know it doesn't apply to anybody in here. But y'all some fine, upstanding, always been saved church folk.
Not true.
But I have to admit, it applies to me.
Amen.
And to those outside of New Philadelphia. And I can say that that great wind and that tempest, it ain't no joke.
All right.
And I ain't telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I know. Looking back at the storms that I precipitated. Because I went left when God said go right.
All right.
I can speak with certainty that my ship was almost broken up because of the storm that I precipitated. But I have to say that unlike Jonah, I couldn't go fast asleep. Sister Joyce, there were many nights I was up because of my own stuff. But I was trying to weather the storm. And I know that there were others who were praying to God, so they were up too because of the storm that I started.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the storm was one that was caused by me.
Right.
Because I was directed to go to Nineveh, and I decided that I would go to Tarshish. So whatever came next was strictly my fault. Then the men were exceedingly afraid and said to him, "Why have you done this?" For the men knew that he fled from the presence of the Lord. Because he had told them. Then they said to him, "What shall we do to you, that the sea may be calm for us?" For the sea was growing more tempestuous. And he said to them, "Pick me up and throw me into the sea. Then the sea will become calm for you. For I know that this great tempest is because of me." Aw. That's mighty white of him. Wasn't that just noble of Jonah? Trying to fall on the grenade to protect everybody else that might be directly or indirectly involved in this whirlwind. See, but the thing is, the act would have been considered noble if there wasn't one particular fact that was a part of this. Jonah was trying to fall on the grenade, but Jonah threw the grenade.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
One simple act of disobedience can affect more than just the disobeyer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my word. It's a word because I just used it. And I know I got a whole lot of people involved when I was on my way to Tarshish instead of going to Nineveh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Francis, that storm raged for a while. You hear me? There were a whole lot of nights that somebody prayed for me. Somebody had me on their mind. And I'm so glad they prayed for me. there were a whole lot of nights that weeping was endured. It wasn't just one, Sister Joyce, but weeping was endured for many, many nights.
Right.
And I know somebody was praying not only for me, but they were praying for that morning to come.
Right.
For some joy, for a break. Because this boy ain't got no sense. Because I wasn't in the best and most lucid state, I couldn't take responsibility for my actions at that time. But now, praise be to God, with somewhat of a clear mind, I can not only say I'm sorry to the people that I hurt, I can say praise God from whom all blessings flow.
Right.
Therefore they cried out to the Lord and said, we pray, O Lord, please do not let us perish for this man's life, and do not charge us with innocent blood, for you, O Lord, have done as it pleased you. So they picked up Jonah and threw him into the sea, and the sea ceased from raging.
Oh, Lord.
The men on the ship took action. They made a decision. They knew when to make a decision. They knew when it was time to take action. They prayed to the Lord, but they said, you know what? We gotta get him off the ship. So they tossed him right into the water. And what happened after that?
The sea was calm.
The sea was calm immediately.
All right.
Sometimes the storm won't stop until you are tossed overboard.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the problems won't go away until you are further displaced from your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the storms of the others you have involved in your mess won't subside until they decide to toss you overboard.
All right. Amen. Amen.
Meaning they have to either cut you loose temporarily or cut you loose permanently for their own benefit. So what they're saying is, since you involve me in your craziness, it's no longer all about you. Now you've made it about me. But since I don't want to continue to be a part of this, I'm tossing you overboard. So my storm can subside. Now you stay in yours, but my storm will subside because I'm tossing you overboard. I'm cutting you loose. I'm separating myself from you. When you get yourself together, we'll revisit the issue. Jonah 1:17 says, now the Lord had prepared a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. And then Jonah 2:1-8 says, then Jonah prayed to the Lord his God from the fish's belly. Jonah 2:10 says, so the Lord spoke to the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land. We can get swallowed up in our circumstances. Right now. We can get swallowed up in our circumstances. When we do, we can be there for what seems like days.
Boy, that's good.
Or we can actually be there for days. But when we know that a decision needs to be made, when we know we have to make progress, when we know we have to jump. So we jump. Let me wrap this up by telling y'all a couple of stories. More than 27 years ago, quite a few of us were members at Travelers Rest. And our pastor was going through it. at Travelers Rest. Until the point where he decided to toss Travelers Rest overboard, and it calmed his storm. Y'all see what I'm saying? So, what I tell you? The pastor knew when to jump. The pastor knew when to jump. And think about it. The people that followed him, the people that stayed at Travelers Rest, there was two groups. And the people that followed him, they knew when to jump. It's time to make a decision. Are we going to stay here with this mess? Or are we going to follow this man? We're going to follow a man who follows God. Let me clarify that. They knew when to jump. And then while we've been on our journey to finally get home, we had a whole lot of times that we figured out it was time to jump. We were stood ice on. And we were sharing the offering. It was time to jump. We were over at the Sandalin Center. While it was all well and good, but it was time to jump. You got to leave. You got to go. It's time to jump. Even when we were on 18th Avenue and we were dealing with an educator, and then a selfish pastor got involved, even though, like Brandon said, God gave us a church, it was time to jump.
That's good, bro.
About 30 years ago, the man standing before you was heavily addicted. And I said this before that I was in the military for 6 years. I was addicted to drugs for 9. So the last 3 I was out of the military. But I wish Vicky was here because she could back me up on this one. When we would be in our groups and everything, and we'd be talking and everything, one thing that a lot of people would say is, you know when you're going to stop using. You know when you're going to stop using. You know whether it's going to be your own decision or the ending of your life. But you know when you're going to stop. I'm so glad that it was my decision. Because I know some people who knew that it was going to be their death. And it was. So here it is, 22 years without it. Because I jumped.
All right now.
Praise the Lord.
Amen.
Wanda, you made a permanent move to St. Pete from Philadelphia. You knew it was time to jump. How is it that we know when we know that it's time to jump?
All right now.
Because we've turned into frogs. We turned into frogs. And what is it? What does it mean when you turn into a frog? It's not that frog that's indecisive and is trying to continue to be a part of that situation and keep adjusting. Don't adjust to the situation when you know it's a bad situation. Get out of the situation. Get out of the situation. So when you become a frog, and I'm talking about a frog that is not trying to stay comfortable. I'm talking about a frog that when you become a frog is when you fully rely on God.
Yes. Yes.
So you're not indecisive. You won't let a heated situation overtake you.
Yes.
It took Jonah a minute, but he figured it out. And in the end, he knew when to jump.
Yes.
Then the great fish spit him up. When we know it's time to jump, our great fish experience will come to an end.
Yes.
And God is going to put us on dry land.
Yes.
Our heated circumstances won't overtake us because we know it's time to jump.
Yes. Yes.
When we know it's time to jump, we'll end up on dry land, and that's the dry land of our deliverance.
Yes.
So be a frog.
Yes.
Then jump. When you think your situations are getting too hot to handle, when your circumstances seem to be out of control, jump. Jump. Because guess what? Jesus understands my pain.
Yes.
So what? I can just unload my problem.
Yes.
Jesus can handle them. When people are getting under your skin or pushing your buttons, when friends and family seem to be behaving like the enemy himself, all you got to do is jump. You just undergo much prayer. And Jesus will have judicious use of the master's power. All you got to do is jump. If you're in a toxic relationship that's not benefiting anybody involved, when the trust is gone and there's no hope of rebuilding, when you say you forgiven but you ain't forgetting, all you got to do is jump. And together you and the Lord will devise a joint urban mobility plan. And that's going to kick off a justified, unencumbered motivation process.
All right.
And in the end, when God has calmed your fears, when God has given you clear thinking, when God has given you confirmation, when you figured out when it was time to move, when it was time to jump, you'll be rejected by your great fish experience. And you'll enjoy, you will experience joy unspeakable and misunderstood peace. Amen.